It was a general or somebody that made a mistake in shooting that drone down. And fortunately, that drone was unarmed. It was not, there was no man in it, and there was no, it was over international waters, clearly over international waters. I think they made a mistake. And I'm not just talking to the country made a mistake. I think that somebody under the command of that country made a big mistake.
So what might that man in the White House do now? Will Donald Trump retaliate? Let's talk to David Smith in Washington for us. David, what do you think? What's Trump's next step today?
First thing to say is there's a dramatic report in the New York Times in the last few hours suggesting that Donald Trump did indeed give the go-ahead for some sort of military strike, and it went as far as planes being in the air, but then for unexplained reasons, it was called off and no missiles were fired. But in the evening of Thursday in Washington, there was an expectation of some sort of retaliation, probably targeting Iranian radar and other installations. The Washington Post also has a report on that, so evidence seems to be accumulating, and it's unclear why that attack, if true, was called off, and whether it might still go ahead after apparently intense debate among national security staff and the White House. Some arguing that it's really become time to punish Iran for its various incursions over the past week or so, and then others warning of the threat to U.S. military forces in the region if this goes ahead. And it kind of symbolizes a day of mixed signals where some have been calling for an escalation, and at the same time, Donald Trump himself apparently playing it down, at least in his public remarks.
Yeah, certainly mixed rhetoric then coming out of the White House, but it's not just Donald Trump that we need to be listening to, is it? There's also Democrats on the Hill that have been speaking. Give us a sense elsewhere in the Senate. Is there pressure to act from Democrats and Republicans?
It now seems to be breaking down across partisan lines, not for the first time. When events happen in Washington, Republicans are being quite strong in their calls for some kind of response to Iran. Lindsey Graham, always something of a hawk in the Senate, talking about the need to inflict pain, and the pain that Iran should feel. Tom Cotton, another senator, has talked about bombing Iran, and Republicans are being pretty robust in their demands. But as so often, Democrats taking an entirely different stand. Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, used the word bumbling, the danger of America bumbling into some kind of military confrontation that would spiral out of control. And Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, warning against reckless conduct. Democrats really very suspicious of this administration, suggesting it's manufacturing a crisis here and demanding that the administration explain itself to Congress to authorize war.